We talk about news, religion, politics, and lots more. You'll find it all at no other channel but Jay Izo Expression.
Hey, what up people, Jay Izo back again. Yeah, how you doing today? Guess what it is, guys? I came across a video where a Caucasian lady just sharing her views on how she does not like the Chinese people in Africa. Like she was just angry that why are the Chinese in Africa? So she went for an event, obviously, and the host of the event have to like, why are you upset with the Chinese people in Africa? You're in Africa, the Westerner, the Asians, the Caucasian, all you guys have been in Africa. Now it's the Chinese turn. So why are you saying you don't like the Chinese in Africa? And she's trying to, oh, well, the Chinese are corrupt and blah, blah, blah. Yes, of course. We know the Chinese are corrupt. Our leaders in Africa are corrupt. And they brought in the Chinese because Chinese people are corrupt without no doubt. And the same thing, I'm just praying that the same thing our forefathers did 400 years ago, that they brought in these so-called Western people with the religions of Jesus Christ, the Portuguese, the Americans, the British, for the belief of they have brought in the religions of Jesus Christ. I'm just praying that it's not going to happen again this time on our lifetime. It's the Chinese turn right now in Africa. You all can believe that. So I want you guys to watch this Caucasian lady at an event where she's expressing her views about the Chinese in Africa, why she doesn't like it. So the event host have to shut her down, like, you are not better than the Chinese in Africa. And moreover, the Chinese are doing something in Africa. They are investing, they're building roads, infrastructure, building bridges and whatever. The American, the British, the Portuguese, they didn't do all that. All what they did was coming to loot our resources. And at the end of the day, after the slavery, they dumped the black people on the island, on the plantation farm, wherever they can live there. So you all stay to watch this white lady and I will come back. But I think it's very funny for a white woman to be complaining about the Chinese people in Africa. Why is she in Africa too? Yeah? Why was her forefather was in Africa too? The same purpose, the same reason, that is why the Chinese people are also in Africa. Obviously, the Africa continent have over 50 or 60% of what the world is consuming today. And that is why everybody is taking advantage over Africa, because we have a corrupt leaders, corrupt system who are incompetent, who can't stand and defend their territories. We're still living by boundaries that the white people, the Westerners have created for us. We are supposed to be United Africa, United Nation with one currency, one people, one military, one voice. But anyway, stay tuned and watch this white lady and I'll be right back.
They're in Africa. They're lending money to countries to build ports and different infrastructure.
To build what?
Port,
and
harbors.
what's wrong with that?
And, well, because...
Countries that need ports get ports.
But they're making people dependent on... I mean, I know, it's the same thing that we've done, which is
no, it's
horrible
not.
Around the world.
They are far more humanistic than the United States ever was.
I've been very concerned lately about China. They are now all over Africa, buying things and investing over there and getting those countries dependent on them and supporting, non-democratic people.
Yeah? But they are non-interventionist. Absolutely non-interventionist in a way that Europeans, the West, has never managed to fathom. When it comes to the influence of China outside its borders, I have to say, firstly, it's quite remarkable that they don't seem to have any military ambitions. Secondly, Africa. I'll give you an example, a specific example. Ethiopia. 2004, because I happened to be there and I have some first-hand experience of it. They went into Ethiopia. I'll tell you why they went into Ethiopia, because they suspected there was oil. Because China is a major industrial power, but it lacks primary resources. Now, instead of going into Africa with troops, colonially, destroying the country, killing people like the West has done for the last 100 years, what they did was they went to Addis Ababa and they said to the government, we would like, we can see you have problems with your infrastructure. We would like to build some new airports, upgrade your railway system, create a telephone system, and rebuild your roads. And we'll do this all for free. No strings attached. We don't want anything from you. And they did. Why did they do it? Because this is soft power. Because because they knew that if oil is discovered, and it was discovered later, then, of course, the Ethiopian government will be much more open to Chinese oil companies coming there. They have never combined their investment with imperialistic. Can you imagine if that was a German company or an American company? That's why I'm saying I don't think you should worry.
Okay, I won't.
I just died laughing, hearing how she's expressing her feeling, her angers about why the Chinese people in Africa that are giving loan to Africans and building bridges. And so the event host is like, so what about it? The Chinese people, they are more humanistic than your so-called forefathers who invaded Africa and kidnapped our people and make them slaves. The truth is that what is the big deal about the Chinese being in Africa, and why is a Caucasian woman concerned about it? Yes, I understand, Chinese are corrupt. So when they come into Africa, they see that our African leaders are also corrupt. So they were able to manipulate, penetrate into them. Chinese are corrupt, there's no question about that. But they're giving loans to Africans. They're giving loans and building bridges, building schools, infrastructures. These are the things the Europeans failed to do, the Americans, the Portuguese, the British failed to do. Because if they would have done it, I don't think there would have been room for Chinese people coming now in 2020s, coming to invade us with loans and money and stuff like that. Yeah? But anyway, just stay tuned, and I'm going to share with you again another video why these so-called Westerners, the Chinese and everybody is coming to Africa. Because what? Africa has what it takes. Africa has 60% of what the world is using today, and that is why they keep coming to Africa. They keep coming to Africa, whereas we Africans that have those resources, we're not opportune to make use of them, except few individuals in Africa who are our leaders. Most of our leaders in Africa are the gatekeeper to the Westerners. And that is why you can see black people literally everywhere in the world. Even after the slavery, okay? Now, in the 21st century, you see black people just forcing themselves to leave Africa to go to a different country. There are black people in United Arab Nation. There are black people in Dubai doing housekeeping, house choices for people and getting many payments just because they can afford the lifestyle in Africa. Africa is blessed with everything, but a few individuals are in the resources, controlling African resources with the management and the family. So Africa is poor in some way, yeah? And that is why you see every black man is leaving their father's land to go for a greener pasture somewhere. But anyway, you'll also stay tuned, watch this clip, why Africa is being enticed by the world and why Africa is the target, why Africa is where everybody's running to. And I'm going to be sad to say this, which is going to be realistic. If a war is going to happen again, Third World War, I think it will happen within Africa. You know why? Because the Chinese people are there, the Americans are there, the Great Britain are there, the Russians are there, the Portuguese are there, the Germans are there, and they all have their military base built in those African countries, except out of West Africa. The West Africa refused giving them the land to build their military bases, but other African countries has given them land to build their military bases, and they're all there. So if anything triggers, I think that's where they're going to attack themselves, and I think that is where the World War III most likely going to happen, within Africa. Because Africa are giving opportunity to these idiots to come into our country, enticing us with money, because our leaders are fools and corrupt that could not take care of their resources and manage it to better the life of the people. Yeah, so strangers are coming in, giving peanuts, giving money. You can't believe it. International Monetary Fund, IMF, is giving loan to Africa. How do they think we can pay it? Because they know we have resources. They don't need you to pay back in cash. They need you to pay in kindness with the mineral resources you got in Africa. And that's why they're giving loans to our leaders. Yeah? So stay tuned, watch this presentation, and I will come back to the end. Thank you.
Africa is one of the most diverse continents on Earth, endowed with plenty of natural resources, economic opportunities and a big market for consumer products. The continent of 54 nations, Africa is home to some of the fastest growing economies in the world and stands as one of the most attractive markets for foreign investors seeking business opportunities in emerging markets. The African economy is projected to reach a GDP of $29 trillion by 2050, from over $3 trillion, making Africa the second fastest growing economy in the world after Asia. While there are several ways to compare nations' wealth, one of the best methods is to evaluate each country's gross domestic product, GDP, which is the value of all the goods and services produced by a nation in a given year. In this video we are going to look at the 10 richest countries in Africa by GDP according to data provided by the IMF. Number 10, Ghana. Ghana is one of the largest economies in Africa. The West African nation has the second biggest economy in West Africa, and is one of the fastest growing economies in Africa. Ghana is the world's second largest cocoa producer behind Ivory Coast and Africa's biggest gold miner, producing over 100 metric tons of gold every year. A combination of a conducive business environment, committed and progressive government-private sector participation, political stability, transparent regulations, and a thriving private sector, are some of the reasons to Ghana's recent economic boom. About 3/5 of Ghana's GDP is derived from the services sector, 1/5 from agriculture, and industry contributing about 1/4, with its total GDP standing at $73.8 billion. Number 9, Tanzania. Tanzania is one of the fastest growing economies in Africa, and one of Africa's most attractive investment destinations. Tanzania has sustained 2 decades of sustained economic growth, being among the 10 fastest growing economies in Africa during the same period, with an annual average growth of 7%. In July 2020, Tanzania reached a major milestone, graduating from a low-income country to a middle-income country 5 years than predicted before. The East African nation has a GDP of about $77.5 billion, with agriculture, mining, tourism, manufacturing, livestock and fishing driving the Tanzania's economy. The country's political stability, natural endowments and strategic geographic position are just some of the few factors which has helped Tanzania to maintain its position as one of the biggest economies in Africa in the past few years. Number 8, Ethiopia. With an annual GDP growth of about 11% in the last 14 years, Ethiopia has enjoyed one of the fastest economic growth in the world in the past decade. The country's economic growth has been led by capital accumulation through public infrastructure investments and foreign direct investment, among other factors. Ethiopia's nominal GDP is about $105.3 billion. Agriculture sector, service sector, financial services, manufacturing, transport and tourism sectors contribute a large part of Ethiopia's economy, with its national airline Ethiopian Airlines, which is the biggest airline in Africa in terms of passengers carried, destinations served, fleet size and revenue, standing as a great example of the country's thriving transport sector. Number 7, Kenya. An East African country well known for its vast landscapes and wildlife is next on the list of Africa's richest countries by GDP. Kenya's economy has rebounded well from the disruptions caused by the pandemic, growing by 6.8% in the first quarter of 2022. This is according to Kenya's National Bureau of Statistics. The largest economy in East and Central Africa, Kenya's economy almost doubled in a period of 8 years, from $58.1 billion in 2014 to $114.6 billion in 2022. Kenya's major industries include agriculture, forestry, fishing, mining, manufacturing, energy, tourism, and financial services. Number 6, Angola. Angola, a vast country with a long coastline and central plateau. In the past few years, Angola's economy has suffered heavily from the effects of lower oil prices and production levels despite significant progress on macroeconomic stability and structural reforms. However, thanks to the recent surge in oil prices, the economy of the southern African nation has begun recovering. Crude oil sales accounts for more than 1/3 of Angola's economy, and 95% of its exports. Angola's nominal GDP is $124 billion. Number 5, Morocco. Morocco's economy is considered as a liberal economy by experts, governed by the law of supply and demand. Privatization in some sectors since 1980s has had positive results in Morocco's economy, helping the growth of its economy and infrastructure. The service sector accounts for just over half of the GDP, with industries sector consisting of mining, construction and manufacturing, contributing about a quarter of the country's GDP, and agriculture about 14% of Morocco's GDP. The North African country has a GDP of about $133 billion, making it the 5th largest economy in Africa. Number 4, Algeria. An economy dominated by export trade of petroleum and natural gas, Algeria is one of the largest economies in Africa. The economy of Algeria has primarily depended on hydrocarbons since 1960s when it began extraction of the mineral resources. Algeria is the world's 6th largest exporter of natural gas. Oil and gas account for almost 95% of export revenues and more than 30% of GDP. The economy of Algeria stands at $193.6 billion, making it the 4th biggest economy in Africa. Number 3, South Africa. The South African economy is essentially based on the private sector. Since the end of World War II, South Africa has established a well-developed manufacturing base, and has since then remained Africa's most industrialized nation. The most industrialized, technologically advanced, and diversified economy in Africa, South Africa has the 3rd biggest economy in Africa, with a GDP of $426 billion. A unique combination of a highly developed first world economic infrastructure and a huge emergent market economy has given rise to a strong entrepreneurial and dynamic investment environment, and has made South Africa a gateway to emerging markets in Africa for many years. Number 2, Egypt. The recent surge in economic activity has set Egypt on track to achieve economic supremacy on the African continent. Egypt's economic growth has been strong and resilient since the economic reforms initiated in 2016, when Egypt began liberalization of the capital account, which attracted foreign investors into the country. The North African nation has witnessed a remarkable rise in retail market sales, and products influx from major international companies, attracting many international brands. Egypt has a GDP of about $435.6 billion. Number 1, Nigeria. Nigeria has stood as Africa's biggest economy since 2020, when it re-emerged as the continent's biggest economy. Africa's most populous nation and the 7th most populous nation in the world, Nigeria is a compelling investment destination endowed with plenty of natural resources and a big market for consumer products. The economy of Nigeria is a middle-income, mixed economy and emerging market, with expanding manufacturing, financial, service, communications, technology, and entertainment sectors. The Nigeria economy, which is $510 billion according to the IMF, is heavily dependent on the oil industry, which accounts for more than 90% of the country's total export earnings. There you have it. Those are the 10 richest countries in Africa.
Hey, thanks for staying by, thanks for watching, and if you're a return subscriber, I would like to say thank you so much for following through, and if you're new to my channel, please kindly like, share, and then subscribe to my YouTube channel for more content and for more information. So basically on my channel I talk about religion, politics and then share news around the world, because religions and politics is what the politicians have used to divide people, especially Africa where I come from. Religion and politics is a big issue. Yeah, it's a big issue, and the politicians are cashing out, while the pastors, the imam in the church, are also cashing out on the poor people because of their religion belief. They have been manipulated with the name of religion and stuff like that. But anyway, this is where I'm going to drop the curtain right now. Thank you for watching. Please like more, share, view, and subscribe. Thank you. Big up, Jay Izo. I'll see you next time. Thank you. Hey y'all people, what up? How you doing? It's boy Jay Izo back in the house again. I'm back again with the continuing of the BRICS nation update. You know, you all know that the BRICS nation has been talking about coming together as 5 groups nation with a big currency that is going to challenge the US dollar. Yeah, it's happening rapidly, and it's happening so quickly. Yeah, initially it was 5 countries that decided to come together, which is the BRICS, the Russia, the Indian, the Chinese, and the Republic of South Africa. But it's no longer 5 countries right now. It is the affair of the globe. 54 countries in Africa have decided they want to be part of the BRICS nation, and they're tired of the US dollar and the US telling them about what to do, how to do, and not to do. And it's not just that. Even France have also shown interest that they want to be part of the BRICS nation, so they can actually see, like, you know, I mean, everybody's tired of the US dollars and US leading and stuff like that. And then guess what? The neighbor to the US, you know, from the south. Like you all know, there are 3 countries in North America: the US, Canada, and the Mexico. So US and Canada, they're basically the biggest country in the North America. They're the big brothers, and they have a younger brother who is there looking at them for help. Unfortunately, the help is not forthcoming the way it should be. Mexico is considered as a third world country, while they have 2 elder brothers who are progressing and the big giant of the world. So they find a loop, an opportunity like, yo, we want to be part of the BRICS, and we believe we're going to gain. So BRICS is not just 5 nations anymore. It's a big impact to the world. You know, think about Africa population is about 1.2 billion and 1.3 billion. The Chinese is 1.34 billion. The Indians are 1.34 billions. And then France, and then maybe Mexico. So you're looking at about 60% of the world population is going to be part of the BRICS. So it's going to be a big affair. You know, it's going to be a big challenge to the US dollar to survive. And once this currency is out, pretty much, this is going to be the new currency that will be challenging. And moreover, before even now, the Great Britain pound is bigger than the US dollar, the watt, and even the euro. You know, even from Saudi Arabia somewhere, their money is bigger than the US dollar, but for some reason, everybody is just dying to get the US dollars because America has been the leading world. So now it's going to be a new ball game. It's not going to be as usual any longer once the BRICS is stable, once the BRICS currency is out. Yeah. So I want you all to stay tuned, watch this when the Mexico joined the BRICS, and also as they just had a new summit meeting in this June. Definitely. So this is an update information I'm giving you all right now about the BRICS, and I think it's going to be a big one. It's going to be a good challenge. It's going to be a big impact. There's going to be change in the world, yeah, where one currency just dominate and thinking they tell people what to do. It's no longer going to be that game as far, you know what I mean? So you'll stay tuned, watch this, and I will be right back. Thank you. I will be right back. Stay tuned, please.
Is Mexico breaking free from the shackles of Western dominance? In a jaw-dropping twist, Mexico has made a groundbreaking decision that will send shockwaves across the globe. Brace yourself as we reveal the unprecedented move of Mexico officially joining the BRICS alliance at the BRICS Summit 2023. Get ready to dive deep into the implications of this historic decision, from national security to economic transformations. Buckle up for a riveting journey as we uncover Mexico's path to redefining the global order. Welcome to a new era of international relations. This is a video you can't afford to miss. In a surprising turn of events, Mexico has made a groundbreaking decision to join the BRICS nations: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. This decision, announced at the BRICS Summit 2023, has sparked a wave of discussions and speculations about its implications for Mexico's national security, economic prospects, and its relationship with the United States. Mexico's potential admission to the BRICS alliance holds significant implications for the country's national security. As highlighted in an article by StrikeSource, joining BRICS could potentially provide Mexico with greater leverage in dealing with domestic security challenges. The alliance's members have vast experience in combating various forms of threats, including terrorism and cyber warfare. Collaborating with these nations would enable Mexico to tap into their expertise and exchange valuable intelligence, thereby strengthening its security apparatus. Moreover, Mexico's entry into BRICS also raises questions about the future of the alliance itself. As discussed in the article by Eurasia Media Network, Mexico's inclusion could signify the alliance's expansion beyond its original framework. This move demonstrates the growing global influence of BRICS and their willingness to embrace new members. Additionally, the article highlights the possibility of Mexico adapting the BRICS currency, which could lead to a further diversification of the international monetary system. The decision to join BRICS comes at a time when tensions between Mexico and the United States have been escalating. As reported by the Mexican Daily Post, Mexico's interest in BRICS is partly driven by growing strains in its relationship with the United States. Joining BRICS could potentially provide Mexico with an alternative economic and political platform, reducing its dependence on the U.S. and offering new avenues for trade and cooperation with other member nations. From an economic perspective, Mexico's entry into BRICS could unlock new opportunities for the country. As discussed in a blog post by Digital Turbine, Mexico's economy is already positioned as a significant player beyond the BRICS nations. However, joining BRICS would further enhance its economic prospects and offer access to a larger market. The article emphasizes that Mexico's vast population, strategic geographical location, and abundant natural resources make it an attractive partner for the BRICS alliance. While Mexico's potential inclusion in BRICS holds promise, it also raises concerns about potential rivalries within the alliance. As explored in an article by the Wilson Center, BRICS member countries already face internal rivalries and differing agendas. Mexico's entry could potentially complicate these dynamics, as it would introduce another voice and perspective into the alliance. However, with effective diplomacy and cooperation, these challenges can be managed to ensure a cohesive and productive alliance. China, being a prominent member of BRICS, holds significant influence within the alliance. An article in the Mexican Law Review highlights China's role in the BRICS project and the potential benefits that Mexico could derive from aligning itself with China's economic prowess. China's Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, and its increasing investment in Mexico present opportunities for economic cooperation and infrastructure development. The potential accession of Mexico to BRICS has drawn the attention of other countries as well. As reported by Prensa Latina, several nations have expressed their interest in joining BRICS, seeing it as a viable alternative to traditional global powers. Mexico's decision to join could set a precedent and potentially pave the way for other nations to follow suit, further strengthening the alliance's influence on the world stage. The implications of Mexico joining BRICS are not confined to economic and security matters alone. The decision holds geopolitical significance as it challenges the existing global order dominated by Western powers. An article on Deutsche Welle explores how BRICS offers an alternative to the Western world and presents a new world order with a multipolar outlook. Mexico's inclusion in BRICS adds to the diversity and representation within the alliance, reinforcing the notion of a more inclusive and balanced international system. Mexico's potential entry into BRICS also raises questions about the future of its relationship with the United States. As discussed in an article by the Council on Foreign Relations, the decision comes at a time when U.S.-Mexico relations have experienced strains due to various factors, including trade disputes and differing approaches to immigration policies. Mexico's alignment with BRICS could potentially reshape its geopolitical positioning as it seeks to diversify its partnerships and reduce its dependence on its northern neighbor. Furthermore, Mexico's inclusion in BRICS may have implications for the global currency system. As mentioned in an article on Watcher.guru, there is speculation about Mexico adapting the BRICS currency. This could potentially challenge the dominance of the US dollar as the global reserve currency and provide Mexico with greater autonomy in its monetary policies. However, the transition to a new currency system would be complex and require extensive coordination among BRICS members. The decision to join BRICS also raises concerns and debates within Mexico itself. As highlighted in an article by the Jamaica Gleaner, there are discussions about the potential implications of aligning with BRICS on Mexico's sovereignty and national identity. Some argue that joining BRICS could lead to a loss of autonomy and place Mexico under the influence of powerful nations like China. Others view it as an opportunity for Mexico to assert itself on the global stage and diversify its partnerships. Critics of Mexico's potential membership in BRICS also point out the challenges associated with the alliance. As discussed in an article by Geopolitical Economy, there are concerns about the compatibility of Mexico's political system with the governance structure of BRICS. Mexico's democratic principles and its emphasis on human rights may clash with the autocratic tendencies of some BRICS member nations. Therefore, Mexico would need to navigate these differences and ensure that its values and interests are safeguarded within the alliance. Mexico's decision to join BRICS at the BRICS Summit 2023 is a significant development with far-reaching implications. It has the potential to impact Mexico's national security, economic prospects, and its relationship with the United States. Joining BRICS could provide Mexico with opportunities for enhanced security cooperation, economic growth, and diversification of partnerships. However, it also presents challenges in managing internal rivalries within the alliance and ensuring compatibility with Mexico's democratic values. As Mexico moves forward with its decision, it will be crucial for the country to navigate these complexities and leverage the potential benefits while safeguarding its national interests. The inclusion of Mexico in BRICS further reinforces the alliance's global influence and the emergence of a multipolar world order.
What's the most important economic grouping in the world? Would you say the G20? A group of 19 countries and the European Union. It represents almost all major economies in the world. But does it represent changing world realities? What about the G7? It's an old, rich nations club representing the global north, but no India, no China, no Russia. So can it really be called important in today's global landscape? Then we have BRICS, a group that represents over a quarter of the world's GDP, more than 40% of the world's population. Its members are Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Now more countries want to join. Egypt has formally applied. Others from Asia, Africa, and Latin America are also in the queue. But now there's been a surprising knock on the BRICS door. France. President Emmanuel Macron wants a slice of the action. He wants an invite to the upcoming BRICS summit in South Africa in August. Here's why.
Does France want to join BRICS? Is Paris sending its love to the Organization of Developing Nations? Is this a sign that BRICS is entering the big leagues? While it's possible, it's still too soon to be sure. Here's what we know for certain. Yesterday, French media reported that Emmanuel Macron had a request. He wanted South African President Cyril Ramaphosa to invite him to the upcoming BRICS summit. The 15th annual BRICS summit is taking place between the 22nd and 24th of August. It's being held in the South African city of Johannesburg. Leaders from the 5 BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, will be present. We're talking about presidents and prime ministers. Along with these 5 nations, there will be other guests, the Friends of BRICS as they're called. Bangladesh, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Indonesia have all been invited, as have some other nations. Many are hopeful about becoming members. Reports say some 14 countries have applied to join the grouping. The latest application is from Egypt, and some Egyptian corporations are excited by the prospect.
It's absolutely one of the main assets that we can take advantage of by joining BRICS and by joining the new development bank. We need to facilitate our trade, whether in import and export. And one of the things that hinders this supply chain and this process is the availability of foreign currency.
Egypt may have a leg up on the competition when it comes to joining BRICS. You see, the BRICS nations have a bank, the New Development Bank, headquartered in Shanghai. There are 4 non-BRICS members: Bangladesh, Egypt, the UAE, and Uruguay. Bangladesh expects to be given membership in August. Egypt will be hoping for it too. It'll mark a new phase in BRICS. So far, the group has only allowed one country to join after its formation, South Africa, which joined in 2011. BRICS doesn't really have a proper mechanism to induct new members, but they're working on it.
Looking at institutional development of BRICS or expansion, we have concluded that we haven't as yet got what we believe is a useful document that we could place before the heads of state. So more work will need to be done on this matter. It is still to be processed, and once we have a document that we believe offers clear guidance, we will then take that to the summit in August.
And the group does seem keen to expand, especially in light of the war in Ukraine and the resultant sanctions on Russia. BRICS member countries want to get together and find a common currency they can trade in, find a way to bypass the US dollar. That's part of what's fueling the expansion. Another reason is the need for economic development. While the West is focusing on the war, the eradication of poverty seems to have been left by the wayside.
I believe the enlargement of the BRICS will be beneficial to the BRICS countries, beneficial to developing countries, and to increase the representation influence of this mechanism, and also to garner bigger power of the BRICS to serve the interests of developing countries and emerging market economies, as well as the international development cause.
China is definitely pushing for the expansion of BRICS. It's another way that Beijing can increase its global footprint, another forum where China can help steer the agenda. Which brings us back to France. Macron went to China in April. He wanted Europe to follow a course independent of the US. He wanted to maintain good relations with Beijing, especially when it came to trade. Is the BRICS summit just another platform for Macron to peddle his politics? Or is it something even more underhanded? Russia has asked France to explain Macron's invite. Moscow asked if it's some sort of Trojan horse move. While we wait for the reply from Paris, one thing is certain. BRICS is increasingly becoming a crucial platform on the world stage.
Hey family, thank you for watching that presentation about the current update with the BRICS. And the BRICS is kicking in. It's not just a joke, you know what I mean? So new world order currency is going to be out in circulation pretty soon here. So the US dollar pretty soon, it's going to be like out of service. You know, I say out of service, meaning it's still going to be there, but the US dollar will only be valued to the people in America and for those that are still needed. But it's not going to be the world currency anymore. Like you all know right now, if you're doing international trading or if you're traveling, like US dollar is what everybody's just trying to get. However, though, the Great Britain pound is even higher than the US currency, and even euro. It's higher than the US currency, but for some reason, everybody is just crazy to get the US dollar. So now that the BRICS nation have decided to come together because, you know, like something has to happen. There have to be a change in the world. Nothing is permanent. Change is the only constant thing in the world. Nothing stays forever. America has been the dominant of the whole world ever, like before I grew up. Okay, so now new world currency is going to be out, which is going to be the BRICS currency. It's going to be used around the world. 54 countries in Africa, like you all have seen, have showed interest. Saudi Arabia, including one of the great Western countries, France. France is like, you know what, we want to see what you guys are up to. We're going to be part of it. And not just France. Guess what? A neighbor to the US, Mexico. Okay, like you all have here, North America. It's not only US is North America. Canada, US, and Mexico are the North America. And unfortunately, Canada and US are the only two progressive countries in North America. So they're like living their younger brother. You know, it's like you have two elder brothers who are well-to-do, who are rich, which is Canada and the US. But their brother, Mexico, they're poor. They're third world country. You can believe that. But however, they're North America. So Mexico right now have taken a stand and you're listening. We have a big brother that does not care about our progress, that doesn't even help us. So now we want to join the new world order currency and see what they can give to us and how we can benefit from them. So benefits from Mexico joining the new world order is going to be really to their advantage, because Mexico has shown a great interest that they are joining the new world order. You know what I mean? So a whole lot is happening here. But I want to say big shout out to you for continuing watching my channel. For those that have been, writing comment about other things that I do and stuff like that, please, I like to read more and I promptly reply you. I just want to show you that I am very disciplined. When you send a comment, irrespective of, I will surely reply you to let you know that I have acknowledged it. And I thank you for all the subscribers. And if you're new, please kindly like, share, and more help for subscribing. And I just want to thank you. And for those that are fathers out there, I want to say Happy Father's Day. For those that are out there, it's not everybody that is a dad. Every man is a father, but not every man that is a dad. So I wish everybody Happy Father's Day and wishing you the best and more greetings and big up. Hey, hello, beautiful people. How you're doing today? It Izo back again, Jay Izo back again with another day. It's a beautiful day here. How you're doing? I hope you're having a great time. Anyway, today I'm going to be talking about Nigeria, precisely. You know, Nigeria is a country in Africa. I know a lot of people does not really know that Africa is a continent, and in that continent there are 54 countries. So Nigeria happened to be one of the 54 countries in Africa and the most populated black people on earth. Nigeria is over 220 million people, yeah. I think Nigeria is the third biggest country, population-wise though, the third biggest country on earth. I think there's the Chinese, there's India, there's United States, and then there's Nigeria. Nigeria is either number 4 or number 5, the most populated nation on earth, and the most populated black people on earth at all, everywhere you can talk about. Yeah, 220 million people, and the size landmark of Nigeria in Canada is just within 2 provinces. Yeah, it's just within 2 provinces. If you go to Nigeria, you're literally going to be seeing people in the millions walking down the street in numbers, millions, congested, tight. You know, a lot of people are jobless. A country where about 60% of the population are jobless. And about 70% of the population are between the age of 0 to about 30 years old or so, like that. Jobless society. Jobless. People are graduate, but they can't find jobs. The jobs will be available, like 10 jobs will be available for like 2 million people to apply for. And guess what? The politician will have 8 of that job given to their family members or relative, and the other 2 positions will be given to the rest 2 million people to compete with. Yeah? So that is why you see that people are jobless, people are poor in Nigeria, there's no job opportunity, there's nothing whatsoever. And guess what it is? The pastors will be telling people, pray, pray. It's your uncle in the village, it's your aunt in the village. She's the witch or wizard. They're the one affecting your progress. But then people refuse to ask them, how could you say that? When there are no jobs opportunity, when the government have not created jobs, there are no infrastructure, there are nothing at all that can give job to people. And now you're telling them to pray. But anyway, I want you all to stay tuned and watch this TV that I'm going to attach here. Kudos to the Arise TV, complimented Arise TV. Arise TV made an interview with a guy, the former Zamfara state governor, who wants to be a Senate president for the 10th National Assembly of Nigeria. This guy, when he was the governor of his state, as a matter of fact, Zamfara state happened to be one of the poorest states in Nigeria. Okay, one of the poorest states in Nigeria. And you all can believe this governor, I think it must be his colleague, his friend or family relative or somehow. The person was launching a book. He went there and donated about 900,000 US dollars, which is about 300 million naira Nigerian currency. It's about 900,000 US dollars just to donate to support the individual who is writing a book. But guess what it is? It's all corruption. At the end of the day, he's going to write that the government of Zamfara State supported that individual, So that at the end of the yearly budget, they're going to go take that, like a credit. But however, they're going to have a complement, like an agreement with that individual who them supported with such amount of money. They're going to go back and take about 50 or 60% of that money back from him in cash. Whereas the government has already said they gave him the money to support the launching of his book. And this is a state in Nigeria that the citizens are poor, literally. Kids are begging around the street with a plate in the morning, walking around the street and, please give us alms, please support us, please, we're poor. Yeah. And the governor in that state is giving somebody, of course, a close pard, friend, relative, as the person to launch a book. Guess what it is? The book does not even have a meaning for the life and citizen and the thing that's going to better the people's life. He gave $900,000 to support, which is like 300 million naira Nigerian currency. You won't believe that. And these people, they are not remorseful at all for whatever they have done or what they're doing. This man have a guts to say that he wants to be the Senate president. He started going around to campaign. And he even went on the national TV in Nigeria, Arise TV. Kudos to Arise TV. Kudos to Hussaini. And he was interviewed. And they were asking him questions. You can see him. He was not even remorseful. He was like, so what? What? Yeah, if I did, that's what? I'm not the first governor, and I'm not going to be the last. I just supported an individual who needed support, blah, blah, blah. But the guy's like, yeah, but your state is poor. There are poor people living in your state that needed that money. Why didn't you support them? He's like, well, so how would that in any shape or form stop my candidacy for being the Senate president of Nigeria? He was upset. You can see his eye. But anyway, I'm going to attach that link right now. Watch it, and I'll be right back. Stay tuned, please.
Assembly, but the same National Assembly.
I get that.
So I think it's a done deal.
I get that, Senator Yari. You want to be Senate president, but you were governor of Zamfara State, that is still part of the poorest states in this country. 92% poverty. Those are the numbers coming out of Zamfara State. One of the highest as regards people impoverished in this country. Little or no, very little minimal development. But you are a man that lives in a lot of affluence and wealth. Even recently at a book launch, you gave 250 or close to 300 million naira to somebody at a book launch. A lot of people are saying, why didn't you spend a lot of effort in fixing your state and at least improving the poverty prospect when you were there? And what qualifies you now to want to be the Senate president?
What does Zamfara State have to do with the Senate president?
Your hitherto record.
And this one you are talking about.
That's what it is. Your record. Your record.
Excuse me. What does that? Excuse me.
Mr. Yari, that's the record you'll be judged by. That's the record you'll be judged by. That's your record.
Excuse me. What does that happen? Before me, how many governors governed Zamfara State?
So what did you do to change it?
Am I the first governor in Zamfara State?
So what did you do to change it in your time? Because that's your record.
I'm not. I am not. I'm not. It's a record that I'm a governor, yes? And I have done my best when I'm there. And
oh, yeah. Did you all hear him? Did you all hear what he was saying? And how upset and anger he was just by asking him the question, like, hey, Mr. Hussaini, you were a governor of Zamfara State. You did this and blah, blah, blah. You gave somebody almost $900 million just for a book launch. And you come from a state that the citizens are poor. You couldn't do nothing. And now you want to be a Senate president. Also, he's going around to share money. Of course, that's what they do. They bribe people. They bribe people. They made people become poor so that they can give you pennies. And then you accept the pennies and you have no choice but to give them the mandate. Okay? You all can see. Those are the leaders that we have in Africa. Okay? Nigeria is blessed with mineral resources. Diamond, gold, everything. Measure it. But guess what? Nigeria is considered as a third world country. Nigeria is poor. Few individuals, few pocket of individuals are the one in charge of the resources of Nigeria. You've got to belong to some certain family, some gapas, some group of people, some elite people. Otherwise, you will not be recognized or you will never get anything you want to seek for in Nigeria. Nigeria is blessed. Okay? Nigeria is supposed to be a democratic country, yeah? Every 4 years, they're supposed to have election to elect leaders for various positions. So just in February, election was conducted to elect the next president of Nigeria. And guess what it is, guy? Election was done, rules were violated, ballot boxes were snatched and taken away by some group of individuals who claim to be the leading party. They break their own rules and regulations. They violate the violation of Nigeria constitution regarding the election. Election was not counted. They came up with something called VI something, where they can accreditate votes and the vote will be published online for people to see. But guess what? Beaver. But guess what? It was not done. There's what they call INEC, INEC, INEC. That is an Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. Okay? INEC that is supposed to be an antibody without affiliating to any political party, but of course it's not true. Okay? The current president of Nigeria appointed the national chairman of INEC. Of course, he's going to dance to his tune. Yeah? They went ahead and announced election results that was not conducted. 4 a.m. in the morning, and selected an individual who is called Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Here is Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I'm going to attach his picture here. Here is the man that I'm talking about right now, Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Last man standing. It's still standing. It's still standing. Last man standing. Jay, how come to be aware the same thing? Is that you?
Yes, so that is the man that has just been selected. He didn't win. Oh yeah, you hear what he's saying? The last man standing. The other guy was congratulating him. Of course, they are the same people. He's like the last man standing. Yeah, the last man standing. He's literally shaking and walking and almost falling down, and he claimed to be the last man standing. He didn't win. Should in case you're in the world, okay, watching, because he's supposed to be sworn in on the 29th, which is going to be, I think, on Monday. He's supposed to be sworn in on the 29th. He didn't win. And do you all know that that same man that had just been selected as the newly Nigerian president, he was being selected. He was not being elected. That same man back in the 80s, he had a criminal case in the United States of drug trafficking. Yeah? A drug baron. He forfeited $460,000 US back in the 80s for United States in order for him to avoid going to jail. And then he went to Nigeria, and then between 1999, 2003, and so he became a governor of Lagos State in Nigeria, one of the biggest mega states in Nigeria. He became the governor. And he literally turned the treasury of that state money into his own personal, and that's how this man became rich. He's a multi-millionaire. You all can see him. When we were growing up, we were being told, even up to now, the youth are the future of the generation. We are the leaders of tomorrow. In Africa, it's a lie. In Africa, men of 60 and 70 and above are just beginning life. You all can believe men of 60 years in Africa, they're contesting to be a counselor. Yeah? If you look at the world today, the whole world leaders today, they're in the early 40s and 50s. Excluding the United States, who appointed an old man, an ancestor, Joe Biden, who is going to leave pretty soon. Yeah? Except the United States. Every other Western country, look at the France, look at Canada, where I am now. Look at all the world leaders, look at Germany, look at the Great Britain. They have just elected an immigrant. Okay? First generation of immigrant from Pakistan has just become the Prime Minister of UK. So they're within the 40s and 50s. It's only in Africa you gotta be 60s and 70s and above. You all can see the man that had just been selected as the president of Nigeria. This man claimed he's 70 years old, but realistically this man is over 80 years old. He's shaking when he's walking, like he can't even stand. He can't even stand on his feet. When he's talking, he's stammering, like his speeches are not even clear. That is Africa for you. These are the ones that make Africa to be what it is today. Few of those individuals have the treasury of Nigeria. Nigeria is blessed and rich, but few of them have the whole treasure of Nigeria into their pocket. Few individuals. Okay, that same man that has just been selected as a president of Nigeria, his 37 years old son in the United States had just bought a mansion of about $11 million worth mansion in the UK. The guy has never worked. 37 years old, he's jobless, he has never worked. Tell me where he's getting money from. That he went to the UK and bought a mansion of $37 million worth. He's never worked. Then went to the best school, attended the best school because, the parents are rich. Not rich because they are rich, they were hard worker. They're rich because they are drug dealers. They're rich because they're smuggler. They are rich because they stole from people. They're rich because they're corrupt. Those are the people that makes Africa to be what it is today. And International Monetary Fund, IMF, keep giving loan to Africa. You can't believe the current president of Nigeria, who's been there for 8 years, his last day is going to be May 29. He's leaving on Monday. This man had just applied for about $80 million from the IMF. And the IMF have granted the loan. A guy that is leaving the office within 3-4 days, why is the IMF giving him money? Of course, the IMF is working with our world leader, our African leaders. A lot of our African leaders, they are the gatekeeper of the Westerners. Because the IMF gave him that money. Of course, the money is not going to be used for nothing. They're going to share it within the cabals. Yeah, Nigeria as a country is owing right now about $11 trillion. 11 trillion Nigerian currency. Okay, 11 trillion Nigerian currency. If you're looking at in the dollar, it's over $1 billion or $2 billion or $3 billion that Nigeria is owing as a country. But guess what? Nigeria is blessed. And in that same country, Nigeria, a man called Alhaji Dangote is the richest African man, the richest black man in Africa. He had just built, a private refinery in Nigeria. But we all know that money is not his money. It's the money from the cabals, just like they invested to support him. So he's going to be the chairman. Okay, it's like a future investment for them. All the governors, all the past presidents, they've stolen money. About $18 billion worth of a private refinery. That money was given to him in cash. But you're claiming Dangote. Yes, the name Nigeria, it's we, the younger generation, that are keeping that name. We are the one doing everything in the world that the world is seeing today. Our leaders are not giving a good impact to Nigeria as a whole. They are all corrupt, they are thieves, they are corrupt people, they are incompetent. In Nigeria today, 60 and 70 years men are still fighting for a political chairmanship, for a councillor. You can't believe that. If 60 and 70 years old men are still contesting to be councillor in Nigeria, so where do you think we, the younger people in our 40s and even before 50, where do you think we stand? We're still just on the queue, waiting. Basically, that is what it is. But anyway, this is where I'm going to throw in the curtain. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for watching. Without you all today, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. I want to say big up to you for keep watching and share and like and subscribe, please. More subscriber, and I need more watch time. Thank you so much, and stay tuned and big up. Have a good weekend. Bye. Thanks for watching. Please hit a like and share. Subscribe to my channel, Jay Izo Expression, and comment below. Thank you for watching Jay Izo Expression. Big up.